Well, welcome everybody. My name's Ian Broom. I'm the CEO of Fliplet, and today I'll be presenting the Q1 2021 update regarding Fliplet's roadmap. So let's get started. So as I've mentioned, I'm Ian Broom, the CEO of Fliplet. I'll be your host today, and we'll be covering a few topics. We'll be covering a brief introduction to Fliplet, just in case there's anybody new on the phone that isn't aware of what Fliplet is yet. We'll also be going through what new features we've launched in the last 6 months. This will include app templates, studio updates, app updates, list from data source changes, form changes, and our new community. And then we'll be talking about the features that we have planned for the rest of the year, just to give you a bit of a sneak peek. And if there's anything that I mentioned during the planned features that get you excited, please get in touch with us. We'd love to hear your thoughts on any of our planned features. And then we'll have time at the end for Q&A. So let's cover how to use Zoom, just in case everybody hasn't already been on a million Zoom calls already today. So if you have questions at any time, just post them in the chat and we'll pick them up at the end. So Mike, my colleague, will be picking up any chat messages at the end and we'll be discussing them. So so if you think of anything throughout this webinar that you'd like to discuss, just pop it into the chat and we'll pick it up at the end. That also avoids you having to make a note of it anywhere or forget it. Please stay on mute during the webinar and make sure that your camera's off. There's no reason for you to have it on. Okay, so let me give you a quick overview of what is Fliplet for those of you who are new. So Fliplet enables you to very rapidly create prefab apps. Prefab apps are basically apps that have mostly been pre-built and in turn code-free. And you can use a number of different components and you can customize Fliplet with code if you want as well. The benefit of prefab apps is that there's a broad set of different features that you're able to utilize. You just drag and drop them in and customize them to suit your needs. Fliplet takes care of the publishing of your apps, so you can publish them to public app stores, enterprise app stores, as web apps, or even as files if you want. And Fliplet takes care of all of the hard and important stuff behind the scenes, such as the infrastructure, security, etc. And this is just a selection of the various integration and security features that we offer. So without further ado, let me move on to the new features that we've launched in the last 6 months. So let's start with giving a bit of an update on app templates. So the main app templates that we've launched are ROMs and the event app. I'll go into more detail about these. We've also been actively working on a number of other app templates that aren't quite ready for launch yet. So we'll talk about these later in the presentation. Let's start with ROMs, or the Remote and Office Management Solution. So ROMs is an app that helps people return to the office safely. The predecessor to ROMs is the Return to Office app, which many of you may be familiar with or are actively using inside your organization. ROMs is the enhanced version. So I'll talk a little bit about what ROMs, why we decided to move away from Return to Office and transition over to ROMs. But just a quick update, we've added a whole set of new features, which I'll go through in a second. ROMs has been enhanced to support hybrid working, so people who are working from the office, from somewhere not the office, and working from home. As I think most of us are aware, a lot of organizations at the moment are coming out and announcing that they're not necessarily ever intending to go back to the office full time, and that they are going to allow staff to work partially remote. So this solution is designed to track that information and ensure people are doing it safely. Because this is an upgrade, quite a significant upgrade from the Return to Office app, and we're aware about how popular the Return to Office app has been, we've actually created an upgrade plan. So the customer success team and the account management team will have that available to share with customers soon. And to support the migration from the Return to Office app to ROMs, we've improved our documentation. We also now have a video that goes through not just the features that are available in ROMs, but it also talks about how to use all the features. So this should enable many more customers to self-serve and also get up to speed with ROMs in their own time. So let me really quickly run through the features. I'm sure everybody can read faster than I can speak, so I'll just summarize this for everybody. But basically, we have a suite of user features, which predominantly includes booking desks, health surveys, the ability to check in and check out of offices or spaces within offices, set their weekly staff status, which is basically where are you working. So you can set it as I'm on vacation, I'm working from home, I'm working from the office, I'm unwell, and it's a configurable list as well. Customers can change it if they want. We also have floor plans of your offices so that people understand what changes, if any, have happened in the office, so they know which space to book when they wish to return to the office. We also have a new food ordering feature. We have a news feed, which is fantastic for getting communications out about what changes have happened to different offices due to COVID or the reopening of different offices. We have a very powerful staff directory, and we have an office status directory as well. We have a suite of office management features, which include a dashboard, the ability to manage guest bookings, which is really important because staff are expected to be able to use ROMs, but guests who visit the office, of course, wouldn't have access to it. So office managers or reception staff are able to use the guest management features to check guests in and out. And of course, access health survey responses and any other data that's been contributed by staff. We now have a food ordering feature, which means orders for food can be managed as well as managing the products that can be ordered. Notice we don't take payment. We're not trying to replace your payment systems for your canteen or your catering. We're leaving your existing kind of accounting features the way they are. We're just reducing the number of people standing in queues or waiting to pick up their food. We figured that it would be better for them to stay at their desks until their food is ready. It's a bit like an internal Uber Eat, if you're familiar with that feature. And we've also added some new admin features, including HIPAA and privacy enhancements, promotion and communication features, and enhanced app security. So let me run through a detailed list of what's new, because I think that there's a good chance we've got many return to office customers on the call who will want to know what's changed. So starting with booking desks, we've now improved reminder notifications, we've improved validation, and we've enabled it so that people can cancel their own bookings. We've also improved the health survey so that if there is a negative health survey reported, basically somebody has a COVID symptom, a notification is immediately sent to the office manager of the relevant office so that they can manage it. We've improved the check-in capability. So instead of having to load the Return to Office app, scan the barcode with the app, you can now scan the check-in and check-out codes directly from the camera app on your phone, which means that the camera app available on your lock screen. You can also, the app will auto check you out when you check in again. So if you forgot to check out, we won't let you check in multiple times. And if you try to check in and you don't have a booking, we will warn you. We've also improved the dashboard by adding date range filters. We've included the health survey data, and we have data export capabilities. I mentioned HIPAA and privacy compliance. So specifically what we've done is we've modified ROMs so that only the relevant office manager is able to view staff data. Office managers cannot see data from other people's offices. Admins can see all data. And we've also added in a download and delete data feature. So in some places, our customers are required to retain the data that they've collected, but they want to do so in a safe way. So they want to basically download it from the Fliplet platform and store it somewhere safe and then wipe it from the Fliplet platform. So I've made that very easy. In the UK, people only need to keep check-in information or access information for 21 days, according to the government. So therefore, you can use the delete data feature just to wipe data that's 21 days or older, which makes the process of being compliant very easy. As I've mentioned, we've added in the food ordering features. So this is just a very simple interface to enable people to order food from wherever they are. We've added in the floor plan that I've mentioned. We've improved a number of administration capabilities, including the one-click configuration of app security, which it also doubles as a mechanism for verifying your app has the appropriate security rules configured. We've also added in communication features, which means you can very easily promote the app out to staff members, but also you can use it to then communicate with your users, either to notify them of changes to your app, remind them to use certain features, remind them of things that are going on in your business but are not related to the app, or you can even use it as an emergency notification system. One of the great things about the new communication feature is it doesn't just support email, it also supports push notification and SMS based on what the user has configured inside ROMs. So it's a very extensive feature. We've also improved our documentation. So we've now got much better support documentation, which you can just scroll through. It has every screen that's available in ROMs and an explanation of what it is. And just last week, a colleague and I finished the shooting of a video walkthrough, which covers 2 sections. It starts with explaining all the features in ROMs, and it's designed that you could review that with, say, stakeholders who might be considering using it. And then the second part of the video explains how to configure and manage ROMs. So it basically forms a training session. Okay, moving on from ROMs, let's talk about the Event app update. So the Event app is fantastic because it's flexible. It can be used for small and large events, but we've been continuously enhancing it over the last couple of years, and we've decided to roll a set of those features back into the template. This is particularly relevant because we've noticed that also a number of organizations are using the Event app for a number of new purposes during lockdown. So we'll mention those as well. But today we're going to cover the features and what's new. So the feature set is pretty extensive. For attendees, it includes agenda, speaker sponsor list, or exhibitor list, as a lot of our customers prefer to call it. It includes polls, surveys, the ability to submit questions, access reference material, floor plans, chat, newsfeed, notifications, etc. And organizers are able to manage all of these features from either inside Fliplet Studio or directly in the app itself. So what have we recently changed? So we've now added in an improved speaker list, link to floor plan, and link to materials directly inside the session information, so you don't have to transition over to other screens to collect a full set of information related to the session. We've added in a new admin interface that makes personalizing the agenda for attendees very easy for administrators. We've also added in the ability for the app to detect offline and slow connections and warn end users, just so that they're aware that it's not the app that's necessarily causing the slowdown. It could actually be that the network is suffering a performance issue. We've added in an exhibitor list. So this means that not only are exhibitors is there a list of exhibitors, and we've noticed more and more events, particularly large internal events, are starting to have internal teams exhibiting, maybe sometimes vendors as well. But also we've added in a request a meeting feature so that attendees can request a meeting from the exhibitors, and exhibitors can view and respond to the requests via the app. We've added in social sharing, an optional social sharing feature into the newsfeed to support with social media promotion. We've added in @mentions in discussions. They work very similar to Twitter or maybe other internal tools like Slack or Teams, where you can mention other people who you know are using the app. We've added in the same promotion and communication features from the Return to Office app, enabling a very powerful set of communication features to engage your users. We've incorporated gamification, which is really an extension of the onboarding process to try to encourage users to engage with as many features in the app as possible. And we've added in, not into the app, but on the support site, we've updated the documentation, and we also have videos that support the new template. We've also broadly improved documentation across all templates. So as you can see in this screenshot, we've got the app template section highlighted. So we now have documentation for 10 templates, including ROMs, marketing, and event. So let's move on to the Studio updates. So in case you're unaware, Studio is how our customers build and maintain their apps. So it's the web-based interface for building apps. The changes that we've made include the data source security rules. So I think it was about Q3 or Q4 last year we launched this feature. We took a little while to test it, but it's now widely available. What the data source security rules enable customers to do is lock down their data sources in a very specific manner to stop data leakage and to stop unauthorized access. So if you haven't had a play around with data source security rules, I reckon that you do. You just go into the data source settings and you'll be able to configure the security rules. We've also added trash and restore for files and data sources. Particularly data sources has proven to be a problem, nothing worse than wiping out a really critical data source. So you're now able to restore that. There's also, I believe, some form of version management available for data sources, so you can see historic versions. We've also added in API logs. We've also added in logs that are available via an API. We did this so that our customers, if they want to, can monitor log data coming from their apps via the Fliplet platform. and in turn take appropriate action. So it could be that you want to monitor who's accessing it. It could be that you want to monitor the performance of your app. It could be that you want to monitor issues. It could be that you want to monitor security concerns. There's lots of different reasons why customers would want access to the logs that are coming out of the apps, and that's now available via APIs. We also have a mechanism where you can extract that data through the data integration service and save it down to a local database or a third-party tool if that's what you want to do as well. We've improved accessibility for a couple of components, predominantly to support accessibility on web. So the list from data source, menus, and form components have all been enhanced. We've also got a suite of new screen templates. So these templates are fairly common, but we believe that they'll dramatically improve the efficiency of customers to create new apps or add features to existing apps. So this includes an edit profile, SSO login, CSV download, which enables you to download selected data sources, a get in touch form and a survey form, a list, a menu style that's based on a list and a menu style that's based on a list with a background. There's a number of those and they're all based on very popular menu designs that our customers regularly request. So we're kind of taking the popular features and incorporating them back as screen templates. We've also been significantly enhancing all of our existing screen templates to make them more compatible. So when you drag a screen template into an existing app, you should find that a lot of your appearance settings get automatically applied. Previously, you might have sometimes had to reset the appearance settings on some of the screens in order to get them to pick up your brand settings. Okay, if I've mentioned anything that you're unsure about, you have any questions, please don't forget to post them in the chat and we'll pick them up at the end. Okay, so let me talk about what changes we've made to the apps. So this includes web and mobile apps. So first thing, we've added push notification for web apps. So what this means is that as long as the browser that you're using supports push notifications, you will now be able to get notifications from Fliplet web apps. You'll also be able to get notifications even when the tab is closed. So you don't even have to have the web app open in order to receive notifications from Fliplet. We've found this feature has been very popular and has really elevated the use of web apps because now you just get a reminder on your computer, just like you do your phone. It dramatically increases engagement. We've also improved push notification detection and guidance available in apps. So this is a feature we'll be progressively rolling out over the next few months. And what this does is if we notice that you've got push notifications on your mobile device enabled, but for example, you don't have any of the banner features enabled, we can now detect that and advise the customer what to do to turn that feature on. So this should not only help end users understand how to configure their push notification features, but it should also help app administrators ensure that their notifications are being seen and that end users haven't disabled the notifications for their apps. We've also included biometrics for Android. So for a long time, Fliplet has supported Face ID and Touch ID on iOS as a way to unlock your app if you're using the lock component. We've now extended that feature set to include biometrics for Android. So if you have the lock component in an app for Android, an Android user is now able to use the fingerprint reader or the Face ID feature of their device. We've also improved the app badge number on mobile apps, which the screenshot here shows. So there's two modes that we're rolling out. The first that we've already launched is you will be able to see on the icon of Fliplet apps an unread notification number. And the way you can clear that is by going into an app and visiting the notification list feature. If you don't have the notification list feature, just get in touch with the customer success team and they'll tell you how you can clear that without adding that feature in. The second method, which we're working on at the moment, is to add a total unread notification list, number that only decreases as specific items are completed. So for example, if you built a task list app and you wanted the badge number to show how many incomplete tasks the user has, you'd be able to use the second mode to demonstrate that. And what that will mean is that when certain tasks are completed, that's when we'll kind of mark that task as done and the badge number will decrease. So with those two modes, we believe that customers will be able to support most of the common badge numbering solutions seen in apps today, either a list of everything you haven't done, such as email, or the unread emails, or a list of, for example, news items that are new that we'd like you to pay attention to. But as soon as you go into the app and you browse at the appropriate screen, we'll clear all of the numbers on the badge so that it starts counting up again and only shows the latest. And then finally, Fliplet has entered the e-commerce space by recently incorporating Stripe. This enables customers to add the e-commerce capabilities for physical goods or services directly into their app using the most popular payment provider in the world. I just want to make a note, though, in case people are getting excited about being able to accept payments via their Fliplet apps. It's important to note that Apple and Google require you to use their in-app purchase system if you're selling digital goods. If you're selling physical goods, they don't mind how you sell them. But if you're selling digital services or features in the app, for example, you have to use the in-app purchase system provided by the App Store, which unfortunately has a much higher commission rate than Stripe, which I think is about 3%. So we're more than happy to have a conversation with you about e-commerce in apps if you're interested. So enhancements to the list from data source. This is probably our, it's either the most or the second most popular component inside Fliplet. It's very extensively used, and it enables you to display a list of records from a data source, which you can then search and filter. So the key features that we've added in the last 6 months include the ability to filter the list by user data. So you can see in this screenshot, the red box highlights what you can now filter by. So for those of you who can't read it, it offers the ability for you to filter by user profile data. So for example, user type or username. It enables you to also filter by a query parameter, which is enabled basically a piece of data you can pass through using the link component. So you can say when somebody clicks, show me all new news items, you can pass that new value through and use that to filter a list. And you can also use app storage data. And the app storage data enables you to access data that's already available on your mobile device inside the app to filter the list. You are also now able to sort data. So this is very useful if you want your end users to be able to sort the data inside their list. You can also now display multiple files or images if the list item has multiple files linked to it. So the data source record has multiple files or images. And we've got a number of other minor enhancements that we've added as well. Moving on to the next most popular component, the form updates. So forms enable you to collect data from your end users, and we're continuously making them smarter. So the first thing that we've added is the ability to pre-fill fields data with user data. So this is kind of exactly the same feature that I just showed you in the list from data source. You can now use profile data, link query parameters, or app storage variables, and you can get those fields pre-populated into a form so that when they're saved, you can then use them to filter the list. And I'll talk a little bit about how this is valuable in the next slide. You can also set up hidden fields. So for example, if you want to collect the user's username, but you don't want them to see it because they shouldn't be able to change it, you can just make the field hidden, which means you'll see it in the form component, but you will not see it inside the screen. We've also decided to retire the form templates that were built into the form template, built into the form component. And that's because we didn't think they were getting a lot of use. They were also a little bit hidden. What we've decided to do is replace the built-in form templates with screen templates, which we think will not only be an easier list of form templates for people to browse, but it also enables us to incorporate third-party features and other components into the screen as well to make a really rich experience, which we weren't able to do before. And we've also got a number of other minor enhancements that we've included into the form component as well. So I said that I'd tell you a little bit about how you can use the data personalization capability in the form and the list from data source. And that's because if you combine those two features, you now are able to build quite sophisticated workflows. So Prior to having these two features added into the form and the list from data source, the only way that customers were able to build workflows was typically by using little pieces of custom code, which generally meant that it wasn't accessible to non-technical people. We've now incorporated a non-technical way of configuring these workflow features into apps. So now you can do things like produce a personalized list of tasks, risks, etc., by building a form that collects the username in a hidden field and filters the list by the user's current username when showing the list. Therefore, you get a personalized list of all of the user's tasks, all of their risks, anything else that you would like to collect from them. But let me tell you about some more sophisticated workflows. So you can also build different flows for different users. So for example, admins can create, review, and approve news, but staff can only view news items. This means that you're able to, based on the user type and based on the information that they have in their profile, show different views to different people. You can also build out completely different screens that react differently based on the user who's viewing them. And then finally, you've got the ability to build drill down lists. So this might be, for example, you create a project and then you want to add staff and then you want to add tasks to the staff. So what this would do is you'd create a form that enables you to create the project, and then you would display the projects in a list. You would then create a list of staff, a form to create staff, and that would save into it the project information so that staff get assigned to a project. And then the same thing, you would have a list of tasks and a form for creating tasks. And when tasks are saved, they would have the staff record ID and potentially the project record ID. And this would be 3 different data sources. So through using this feature and linking list from data sources together, you're able to create this kind of tiered data structure, which we believe will open up a whole suite of new use cases that, as I said previously, have been restricted to requiring code to create with Fliplet. And we've done some internal training on this. And we've learned there's a good way and a bad way to explain these features. So we've got some new training videos coming soon that will be launched and put up onto the support site. So keep an eye out for those if you're interested in these workflow features. Okay, so a big new feature that we've recently launched is what we call Fliplet Community. So this is an online forum for all customers to ask questions and discuss things with other customers. So Fliplet staff will be sharing configuration and code examples on the community as a kind of a quick way for us to document things that we've recently been doing with customers that we think other customers might be interested in. Of course, nothing that is deemed private or confidential, but anything that we think would help anybody else and is quite generic, we'll be sharing. Customers are able to ask their own questions, and it's really easy to sign up. I think it's just name, email, password, and off you go. It does ask you to verify your email, but I think that's fairly standard. We're also going to be posting the latest news and updates from Fliplet from a perspective of changes we make to the support site, any new features that go live, etc. And the system does support email digests, email notifications, and push notifications. And it has a web and a mobile version. So it's a very powerful system. It's used by lots of other high-tech companies. So I encourage you to go and check it out. The URL is community.fliplet.com. At the moment, we're only announcing this to kind of close customers so that we can run a bit of a trial. Once we're happy with it, we'll be integrating it into our help.fliplet.com site. But for now, you need to just visit community.fliplet.com and have a go. Don't post any questions that you have about the webinar there, though. Make sure you post those questions into Zoom so that we can answer them in a little bit. Okay, so let me tell you about what we're planning for the rest of 2021. So these are all of the templates that are currently being worked on or planned. So we've got the Team Comms update, a Team Comms update that will replace the internal comms app that we currently have. We've got a new virtual event app template, which I think some people may know about because we did a webinar about it late last year. We've got a directory app update coming as well. And then we're planning a compliance management app, a crisis management app, an e-learning app, and a capacity management app. So let me tell you a bit about all of these. So the Team Comms app has an extensive set of features. This is really an app that's designed for either team or organization-wide communication. It scales very nicely. What we've found is most customers are much more interested to have a communications app that's really targeted at a fairly narrow group of users. Not many people are interested in trying to fix communication issues across the entire organization. So what we've done is we've adjusted the scope of this app so that it focuses more around team communications. And if customers like it and they want it, they can progressively expand this out to more and more teams, more and more offices, more and more countries. It's entirely up to you. It has an extensive set of features. A lot of these features I've kind of mentioned already. Colleague recognition is a really popular feature and a great way to encourage people to give recognition to each other. And we also have a great knowledge sharing feature, which is kind of like a private internal system where you can share industry news that you think is relevant to your colleagues. And all of this can be personalized to your preferences by telling the app, this is what I care about, therefore this is what I don't care about. So don't tell me about news that isn't relevant to me, please. So the key things that we're adding into the Team Comms, so we're adding gamification, we're adding in mentions, which I mentioned previously. We're adding in personalization, which I mentioned. And we're also improving it with a news feed that we're taking from the marketing template that includes audio and video features. Audio and podcasts is becoming very popular as an internal communication method, partly because it's so fast and easy to record, partly because you don't have to do a huge amount of preparation. You're not on video, you don't have to do your hair, things like that. But of course, video production is also increasing dramatically. So the news feed is going to be enhanced so that you can include video and audio directly within it. And we're also adding in the optional ability for you to share any content out to social media. I say optional because it's not mandatory. It's entirely up to you if you want your staff to be able to share this onto social media. But if you do, it's great for employee advocacy or employee promotion and increasing social media engagement. As some of you may know, we've been working on a virtual and hybrid event app. This event app is different from the previous one that we've been working on because not only is it going to have virtual event features and you can see what the reception screen looks like in the design, but you can also use this as a hybrid event. So what this means is that you can have people remotely attending and attending in person, and it will adjust accordingly. Just running through the key features that we're going to be adding into this template. We're going to be adding automatic configuration of video conferencing, which means you don't have to go and set up Zoom or WebEx or anything like this beforehand. You'll just basically say start session and the video conference will be created and started for you. So everything's kind of integrated and there's no risk that like one system will work and another system won't. We're going to be adding an onboarding checklist to help users prepare for the event and reduce support inquiries. So by encouraging your attendees to go and register before and complete the checklist before, they'll be trained on how to use a lot of the features, which means that they'll be able to kind of access the event on the day and go without any issues, hopefully. It's going to be cross-platform. So this means that you can use it on web for virtual attendees, and for people that are in person, they can use their mobile device. On mobile, you will not get the reception screen that you see on the right. You will get a more traditional event app experience, and you won't necessarily, unless you want to be able to access the video streams on mobile. In order to access the video streams, you'll need to use a computer, suggesting you're not there. And we're going to add up next functionality to encourage users to stay involved, which is really important when you're virtually attending events, because if there's a session that you're not terribly engaged with, you might think, well, I'll just check that email, and then you've lost your audience. The up next feature will kind of entice users to stay actively engaged. And by giving them lots of other things they can do, such as networking and one-on-one chat and things like this, will hopefully keep them engaged, even if there aren't any sessions that are relevant to them at the time. So I mentioned earlier that I was going to explain what the event and the virtual event template have been used for over the last year since we've had the pandemic. customers have been blowing us away. They've been doing some really interesting things. So we've had a number of customers use it for large events, including conferences and summits and retreats. We've had customers use the event capabilities of Fliplet for smaller events like webinars, seminars, roundtables, and training events. And then what we're seeing a lot more of nowadays are organizations using the event capabilities for programs. Programs I describe them as, say, multi-week events, but they're not necessarily full-time. So this includes things like onboarding, vocation schemes or graduate onboarding, training courses, things that you might attend 1 or 2 hours a week, maybe only in the mornings or something like this, but it could last for 6 or 8 weeks. So customers have been manipulating the event template because the majority of the features are suitable for programs, and just extending the agenda data so that it covers a longer period of time. So I just thought I'd share that during today's webinar in case anybody on this webinar thought that that use case might be relevant for them. Other kind of key features and how the virtual and hybrid event app will differ from the standard event app. So it'll have a reception menu screen, which you saw the design of. It will have an auditorium where you get to attend kind of the video streaming and network with other attendees of the session. It'll have networking, one-on-one networking via video so that you can get to know other people who are attending, and it'll have the onboarding checklist. Additional features that we're going to add: speakers will be able to configure their sessions and polls if you want them to, and organizers will be able to configure everything, but we're going to try to slipstream it as much as possible. We're also going to be adding in the ability for the app to support multiple events. So it won't be a single event solution. We've noticed that lots of organizations need a solution that allows them to very rapidly spin up new events, and new events, you don't necessarily want to be creating a new app every single time. Okay, so the directory update. I'm actually really excited about the directory update, and let me tell you why I'm so excited about it. It's because the directory update will take our fairly basic directory at the moment and convert it into an intelligent directory that users can customize and collaborate with their colleagues. So the way this will work is that it'll support a new level of personalization, so you can build your own sub-contact lists. So if you take, for example, all the staff in your organization, but you're working on project A with them, you'll be able to mark everybody that you're working on with project A and pull them into a custom list. You'll then be able to share that list with other people in project A, and anybody else will be able to change the list. You'll be able to also add non-staff records to your app, such as suppliers, facilities, services, etc. In some cases, and it's entirely up to you if you want to enable this feature, you'll be able to add reviews to records, for example, rate suppliers or rate partner firms, which is something we've heard a number of customers ask for. You'll also be able to see a list of recently contacted or accessed contacts. So this should mean accessing a contact you recently viewed is much faster. It's almost like an intelligent favorite list. You'll be able to get notifications whenever you're added to a list, or whenever a list that you're a part of is updated. So for example, if somebody leaves project A and somebody else joins project A, you'll be able to optionally be notified. We're going to also offer improved profile features, which just means a more sophisticated set of profile information and features available inside profiles. We're going to optimize the loading time for large contact lists. I know at the moment it can be quite slow loading large lists with people's profile pictures. And we're going to enable customers to extend the list with more custom data. So for example, users may be able to contribute experience information, tag themselves or tag other users, add reviews. And so this capability takes the kind of Fliplet directory app, potentially based on your existing staff data, and extends it to become significantly more sophisticated and add a whole new level of value. So other app templates we're working on that I mentioned earlier. So we're working on a compliance management app template. So this will mean that you'll be able to manage compliance requirements, track issues, and educate users about compliance. So it'll be literally a 360 solution related to compliance. The exact materials and what topics it covers is entirely configurable. So you'll be able to load in any kind of compliance information or compliance processes that you'd like. Crisis management app is going to be updated. So this will include a new sophisticated workflow that can be customized by end users to adapt to different scenarios. So for example, if I produce a Dawn Raid crisis management app and I give that app to a customer of mine, the customer would then be able to configure the list of items that I've suggested and tailor it to their organization, but they'll still be using my app. And the changes that they make will only be seen by people inside their organization that they choose to share the app with. So not only does it increase the ability for end users to personalize it and customize it and make it their own, but it also increases then the likelihood that they'll share that with other people and encourage engagement. It's also going to include a sophisticated set of notifications so that if you have to do a task, the app will proactively tell you. You don't have to wait for the app. You don't have to load the app proactively. eLearning is something we've been working on for a while now, and it's going to include the ability for you to create courses, lessons, and assessments on any device with powerful reporting and automatic notifications. We're also going to be producing certifications when you complete a course, which is an optional feature. That'll be a PDF that you're able to access via the app, and will give you some form of way to promote your certification onto social media if that's what you want to do as well. And then finally, we've been receiving quite a lot of requests recently about capacity management apps. So we figured that it might help us to kind of build a fairly generic capacity management app that customers can then adjust to suit their organization needs. So this will include the ability to collect capacity information quickly from staff, and it will offer powerful reporting, enable management to drill in and see historic capacity information and contact people who they believe have enough capacity to fulfill the work that they have. As I said earlier, if you've got any questions, just post them in chat, please. So I'm going to run through the remaining few slides quickly because I'm aware I'm at the 45-minute mark and I promised you I'd be taking questions. So Studio is getting a number of updates. We're going to be adding an end user licensing agreement for all users, and we will be giving customers the ability to review the EULA before it's implemented and before your end users need to agree to it. We're going to be adding in trash and restore for screens and apps. We're going to be adding snapshot backups for screens and data sources, although I have a feeling that feature may already be in testing or live. And we're also going to be adding in scheduled tasks to automate common tasks. So for example, import data or send emails. You'll be able to build out screens and tell Fliplet, I want you to visit this screen every 3 hours. And Studio will then visit that screen for you, and you can configure that screen to say, send an email to somebody or import data from a third-party service. So that the scheduled tasks is a very exciting feature that we're looking forward to. We're going to be enhancing data management. So I spoke about this last year, but our plans are to enable virtual data sources, which means basically it'll look like a data source, but it'll actually be running code to execute API calls. We're going to be adding in data proxies, which means Fliplet will be able to be the intermediary between your on-premise data storage and Fliplet, and it won't store the data. It'll just send the data backwards and forwards, which is great from a security perspective and a very rapid way to integrate on-premise data sources with Fliplet. And then we're going to be enhancing the data management user interface so that it can deal with large data sets more effectively. We have intentions this year to improve how people use the data integration service, which is our primary form of integration. So not only will you be able to download files from Fliplet to on-premise, but you'll also be able to set up this as a Docker image instead of having to install the software from scratch, typically installed on a Windows machine. We're also going to be doing many other changes, including enhancements to the list from data source that will add drag and drop editor and filter by date and number inside the app. New screen templates. So I've already mentioned some of them. We've got a large list that we're intending to do over the next couple of quarters. So expect to see lots of new templates. We've got a helper component, which is like a developer framework that we're working on, and this will power the new workflow features that we're adding into the emergency response app and the eLearning app. We've got enhancements continuously going on to Studio that it makes it easier for new users to learn how Studio works. Some people may have seen those if they've recently signed up to an account. We're continuously adding in more template walkthroughs and how-to guides, and we're progressively using more and more video because we've heard from customers they prefer it. We're adding improved methods for translating apps. We've had a number of customers begin translating apps into other languages, and we're aware that we don't currently offer a really easy way to do that. So we're going to be improving that. And we have already begun working on this year's annual penetration test, which as soon as we get the results, we'll be sharing them with our customers. And we're also currently engaging with a number of organizations about starting our ISO 27001 project, which means we should be compliant by the end of the year. Our next roadmap webinar will be in September 2021, so quite a while away. Yeah, I'll now take questions. So if you've thought of anything, please post it in chat. Yeah, Mike, have there been any questions?
Yeah, there's been a couple. Going back to right at the start, seems like a long time ago now, but the Return to Office or ROMS app. This is from an existing client saying, will they be contacted to upgrade?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be doing is letting all of our current customers explore ROMS, because we're aware that lots of our customers have customized their Return to Office app, and therefore they will need to assess what features they want to copy over, or maybe what features they don't need anymore because ROMS offers a better version. So that's a big part of the reason why we created the video, to kind of walk through the ROMS features so that customers can hopefully self-serve and get that information quite quickly from the video. They're also able to go into Fliplet Studio right now and have a play. And of course, the customer success team and the account management team at Fliplet will be happy to assist. Particularly if they've been closely involved in the Return to Office app for that client. If they haven't, then obviously it'll need to be a more in-depth discussion.
Excellent, thank you very much. The badge numbers that you mentioned for notifications or for incomplete tasks, is it one or the other, or can they have both?
That's a good question. I think we assumed it would be one or the other, because otherwise it could get a bit confusing. For example, if you were trying to use both and you loaded the app, the badge number might drop. Let's say it was 8, it might drop to 4, but it wouldn't necessarily be obvious, how do I get rid of the remaining 4? Like, why is the badge still saying 4? And why did it just get rid of 4? So, so most apps, based on our testing, have a preference for one method or the other method. They either, for example, BBC News, it'll tell you you've got 8 stories you wanted us to notify you about. And as soon as you load the app, the badge goes to 0, because they assume that you want to know when something news happened. You don't want to read every single news item in the app. Whereas email, as we all know, works the opposite. Email is just a persistent unread number, and you kind of have to remember, what was my unread number before, to know if you've got any new items. And the way you reduce it is you read emails, or you move emails out of your inbox. So yeah, in our analysis, generally apps do one or the other. And by the way, just because you send notifications out does not necessarily mean you have to increase the badge number. So for example, if you were sending notifications to your users for a number of different purposes, you don't necessarily have to always increase the badge number, although in some cases it might be easier just to automatically increase it.
Excellent, thank you very much. The workflow that you showed us, will there be a template or a solution built out and available in Studio for us to start to play with?
Yeah, so we already have the expense template that is a workflow demo. I'm sure that we'll upgrade that at some point to use these new features. I think it's probably going to be easier, if I'm honest with you, because it only takes a couple of seconds to actually configure those workflows. I think it's probably going to be easier, rather than trying to reverse engineer how various screens have been configured without an understanding of how the data is structured in the app. It's probably going to be easier to actually have a tutorial, whether that's a video tutorial or like a written tutorial on the support site that just explains, look, if you want to build a task management app, do these 3 steps, then do these 3 steps. There you go. I think based on our experience with internal training, we've definitely learned there's an easy way and a hard way to explain how these features work. And so we're definitely going to be going with the easy way when we introduce this feature to customers.
Brilliant, thank you. You mentioned the Fliplet community. but you also mentioned that at the moment you're rolling out with close customers. Can prospective customers use it now? So anyone on this call that isn't already a customer, can they go on and start to post questions, and maybe we can encourage our existing customers to answer them and engage with them?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the reason why we launched the community was actually a number of customers have been asking us, is there any way I can talk to other Fliplet users? And our response has generally been, well, we don't have any kind of ongoing tool that you can use to communicate with other customers. So, either I can put you in touch with somebody, which is quite formal, or maybe they'll meet through events like roundtables or things like this. So what we want the community to become is a mechanism whereby customers can talk to us or our customers 24/7 without necessarily Fliplet having to be the conduit to support that communication. Some of our customers actively tell us that they call other customers because they already know them. Hopefully this will become a bit of a platform where knowledge can be shared across a broader set of customers. And the kind of comment I made about it being kind of closed at the moment is more because we are aware that we've still got some learning to do about how we manage it, how we moderate it, exactly what people are going to ask, things like this. So we're kind of being aware that we don't want anybody to have an overly negative experience engaging with it. So our intention was kind of to slowly roll it out. But if prospects are keen, then we're more than happy for them to engage and see what it's like.
Perfect, thank you. And I take it, is the intention that community platform may become somewhere for citizen developers?
Yeah, I mean, it can be for any studio user. So I guess like Fliplet doesn't differentiate whether they're a citizen developer or whether they're a professional developer or what skill set they have. So yeah, anybody can go and use that.
Excellent. Okay. The Team Comms app, some of the features look quite exciting in there. Can we pick them up and use them in an existing app that we have? For example, the RTO app, can we pick up the features from the new Team Comms and just add that into our RTO app?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the features that have gone into the Team Comms app have come out of the marketing and the ROMs app. So you may actually find that ROMs already has it. We're just describing the feature slightly differently. So for example, people who take ROMs are generally speaking motivated by the desk booking and the check-in and the health surveys and the data management. They're usually not that motivated by the newsfeed, the personalization and the gamification. But over time, we expect that more and more of our apps and our templates will have these as standard features. And yes, you can copy them from one app to another app. And they're fairly modular. You might need to ask a CS person for a little bit of assistance, particularly if it's a multi-screen feature. But yeah, they're definitely compatible.
Perfect. That's all the questions. Thank you, Ian.
Okay, fantastic. So just to wrap up then, we've got a couple of upcoming webinars that we're doing with partner organizations. So the first webinar that we have on 20th of April is with UK LTA, and that is accelerating client engagement and automating processes with apps. So if you're interested to attend that, please visit fliplet.com/webinars. It'll have more information about it. We also have a webinar with ILTA, which is called Enjoy Responsibly, Sustainably Scale Your Firm's Mobile Apps, which is designed to cover off not only how you can produce multiple apps in a responsible way, but also how you can manage the risks associated with scaling apps. And we're going to be doing deep dives into a number of case studies that we have. So if either of those take your fancy, please visit fliplet.com/webinars. And I believe that concludes our webinar for today. So I thank you very much, everybody, for attending. I hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful, not too much of an information overload session. And we'll be posting the recording within the next 24 hours and emailing it out to all attendees. So if you wanted to forward this on or you wanted to revisit anything that I said, that'll be available to you very soon. Yeah, I hope you have a fantastic day, and thank you very much for attending.